Most women are taught that being irresistible is about appearance, charm, and the right sequence of words. They are told to smile more, to be agreeable, to follow rules written by those who benefit from their compliance. But what if the very essence of allure has nothing to do with surface performance, and everything to do with an unseen current in the psyche? What if the magnetic pull of certain women is born not from trying harder, but from an unshakable alignment with their inner archetype? And what if the more you try to imitate it, the further away it slips? In the quiet corridors of human attraction, there exists a rare breed of woman who does not compete for attention, yet is rarely overlooked. She moves as though life itself bends to her pace, as if her presence is not a request for validation, but a declaration of sovereignty. Her allure is not crafted. It is the natural resonance of a psyche at peace with both its light and its shadow. The air shifts when she enters, and not because she demands it, but because she carries a wholeness so few have dared to cultivate. This magnetism is not a trick. It is not a script learned from glossy self-help pages. It is the byproduct of deep, unflinching self-ownership. Jung would say she has danced with her shadow, holding its gaze long enough to tame its hunger without caging its power. In her, the anima and animus do not wrestle for dominance. They converse. She is the embodiment of her own inner counsel, unfragmented, unhurried, uninterested in being more palatable for the comfort of others. There is something dangerous in this, but not in the way the insecure fear danger. It is the danger of someone who will not bend simply to be chosen. She knows that approval is the cheapest currency, and she has no interest in trading her integrity for it. Her beauty is not measured by symmetry, but by congruence. Every movement, every glance, every word springing from the same deep-rooted truth. Even silence becomes part of her language. And here is the paradox. She does not seek to be irresistible. She simply refuses to dilute herself. In that refusal, something ancient awakens. You can see it in the way her gaze lingers a second too long, not as seduction, but as recognition. You can feel it in the way she occupies space, as though she belongs, not because she was invited, but because existence itself is her inheritance. Men, women, strangers, even rivals sense it. She cannot be won in the conventional sense, only met as an equal. Irresistibility here is not about a rehearsed allure. It is a frequency, and frequencies cannot be faked. They must be lived in too. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. This woman's inner dye is rich, uncompromising, layered by self-inquiry and moments of stillness where she chose understanding over reaction. She does not rush to fill silence with chatter, nor emptiness with attention. She has learned the art of letting discomfort breathe until it reveals its truth. In her presence, others confront their own restlessness. They find themselves speaking more carefully, laughing more genuinely, softening without realizing it. This is not manipulation, it is mirroring. She holds up an invisible mirror in which people see the parts of themselves they have forgotten, their unclaimed courage, their buried desires, their capacity for honesty. Some are drawn to it, others are unnerved. All are changed. Yet her power is not in how others respond, but in how little she is swayed by their responses. Praise does not inflate her. Criticism does not dismantle her. She has stood in the storms of disapproval and learned that they pass. She has watched the tides of attention come and go, and found the shoreline within herself. This detachment is not coldness, it is freedom. The kind of freedom that makes people wonder how they might taste it too. The woman rooted in her feminine, Psyche understands that allure is not an action but a state of being. She need not over-explain, over-prove, or overextend. She knows that. Every time she betrays her own truth for acceptance, she teaches others how to devalue her. So she resists. Quietly, consistently, without apology. In doing so, she becomes not just desirable, but unforgettable. There is a quality in her presence that feels timeless, as though she has stepped out of a place where the pace of life is slower, and the soul is allowed to catch up with the body. She is not in a hurry to impress. She allows the room to come to her. This is not arrogance, it is an unspoken understanding that value does not need to announce itself. Just as the moon never explains its glow, she does not explain her worth. Those attuned to subtlety feel it immediately. Those trapped in noise miss it entirely. Her gestures are deliberate but never stiff. She can lean back into her chair with a half smile that says more than a paragraph of flattery. She can sip from a glass without breaking eye contact, and in that moment, you are no longer in the same conversation, you are in her rhythm. This rhythm is born from self-trust, from knowing that nothing of real value can be rushed, least of all connection. And because she is unafraid of pauses, her words carry more weight when she chooses to speak in Jungian terms. She is a woman who has integrated her animus, the inner masculine, so that she moves with quiet authority while remaining deeply rooted in her feminine essence. She can be assertive without aggression, receptive without passivity. This balance creates a magnetic tension in her energy, a subtle polarity that draws others without them knowing why. People sense both safety and challenge in her, as though she could hold you through your vulnerability and call you out when you hide behind it. This integration is not born from comfort, but from shadow work. She has met the parts of herself that once embarrassed her, frightened her, or made her feel unworthy. She has sat with the younger versions of herself, the one who was desperate to be liked, the one who shrank to avoid conflict, the one who chased affection that was never freely given, and she has told them they are safe now. In doing so, she has retrieved pieces of her psyche that most people leave abandoned in the past. That reclamation is what people feel around her, even if they cannot name it. She is whole, not perfect. Perfection is brittle, and she has no interest in such illusions, but whole. This wholeness allows her to step into any space without fearing loss, because she carries no part of herself on loan to anyone else. Her validation is an inside job. The opinions of others become like weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy, but never dictating her movement. Men, when faced with this kind of woman, often find themselves unsettled in a way that has nothing to do with romance. They are confronted with the realization that they cannot win her through games, status, or charm alone. She does not need rescuing, nor does she need to prove she doesn't. Instead, she meets them eye to eye, not from the stance of impress me, but from the silent question, can you meet me where I already am? This is a challenge to rise, not a lure to chase to other women. She can be both an inspiration and a disruption. Her mere existence can trigger those still bound by the old scripts, who believe worth must be earned through constant self-sacrifice, or beauty that bends to the market of male approval. But to those ready to awaken, she becomes proof that it is possible to live differently, that you can be magnetic without being available to everyone, that boundaries can be an invitation to depth, not a barrier to love. Her allure deepens in the way she navigates tension. Where others flinch from discomfort, she leans in, not recklessly, but with curiosity. She knows that avoidance breeds stagnation, while meeting conflict with presence sharpens the soul. This is why she can say no without guilt. Why she can walk away without theatrics. She understands that endings are not failures when they protect her integrity. In fact, each boundary she honors makes her more grounded in herself, and paradoxically, more irresistible. This is the essence of her without trying. Not a lack of effort, but the absence of distortion. Her magnetism is the natural consequence of alignment, the echo of a woman who belongs wholly to herself. And in a world where so many barter their authenticity for scraps of approval, such alignment feels like a rare and ancient luxury, one that cannot be bought, only cultivated. She does not confuse mystery with secrecy. Mystery is the natural veil that falls over a person who is fully alive within themselves, whose inner world is rich enough to be explored but never entirely possessed. Secrecy is withholding out of fear. Mystery is simply the overflow of a soul that cannot be exhausted in one sitting. People sense there is always more to discover with her, not because she hides, but because she lives in layers, each one revealed only to those who have earned the depth to see it. This is why she does not overshare. In an age where validation often comes from rapid disclosure, she treats her inner life as sacred ground. Her stories are not performances for cheap applause. They are offerings, given in moments of real trust. She understands that intimacy is not built on speed, but on resonance. A slow weaving of threads that cannot be faked. This restraint is not coldness, it is discernment. And discernment, in its purest form, is one of the most alluring qualities a woman can possess. From a psychological lens, this is the individuation process at work. She has moved beyond the compulsion to be universally liked, into the more dangerous and liberating territory of being truly known. Jung wrote of the shadow not to frighten us, but to remind us that what we hide holds the keys to our wholeness. She has turned those keys in her own locks, one by one, until the house of her being stands open to the right kind of guests, and immovable to the wrong ones. In the presence of such a woman, people feel both seen and measured. Seen, because her attention is not scattered, but anchored. Measured, because she does not hand out her energy indiscriminately. This combination creates an unspoken challenge to rise into authenticity if you want to be met by her fully. She does not chase, she does not cling, and she does not dilute herself to maintain proximity. In her world, closeness is earned by truth, not convenience. Men who are used to immediate conquest find themselves pacing mentally in her presence. Their usual tactics fail because she cannot be hurried. They either learn patience or reveal their impatience, and in doing so, show her they are not ready. This is not a test she consciously sets. It is the natural filtration system of a woman who lives by inner alignment. And when a man does meet her with steadiness, with a balance of strength and humility, something rare happens. Her softness unfolds without fear. Like a flower opening at dawn, her relationships, whether romantic or platonic, are not transactional, but transformative. People leave her company different from how they arrived, not because she preaches, but because she embodies a higher standard of being. In her presence, self-betrayal feels heavier, dishonesty feels sour on the tongue, and small talk seems insufficient. She evokes depth simply by living in it. And once someone has tasted that depth, the shallow pools they once waded in become intolerable. She has also mastered the art of silence, not the passive, shrinking silence of suppression, but the alive, electric silence of someone who knows. They do not have to fill every space. This kind of silence can be more intimate than words, more disarming than charm. It is the silence that invites another to reveal themselves without the pressure of being led, the kind that says, "I am here, fully present, and I will wait to see the truth of you." That patience is its own form of seduction, yet beneath it all, what makes her truly irresistible is not the mystery, the boundaries, or even the balance of her energies. It is the simple, unwavering truth that she is not for sale. Her value is not up for negotiation, her essence not available for consumption by the highest bidder. She belongs entirely to herself, and so any connection with her is a gift, never a transaction. That, more than anything, is what people feel and cannot forget. She carries a quiet confidence that is not born from never being wounded, but from surviving wounds without letting them define her. This kind of confidence is deeper than charm, more enduring than beauty. It comes from having been broken in places where no one could see, the kind of fractures that taught her the difference between fragility and sensitivity. Fragility demands protection from life. Sensitivity allows her to move through life with open eyes and an unarmored heart, knowing she can survive the storm. This is why her presence feels safe without being soft in the wrong places. She is not afraid to be tender, but she does not mistake tenderness for weakness. Her softness has teeth, her compassion has boundaries. She can comfort a friend through heartbreak, while refusing to validate the self-deception that caused it. She can love fiercely without losing herself, because she understands that love is not sacrifice of self, but expansion of self, and expansion requires a strong center. Philosophers have long warned against letting the opinions of others dictate the state of one's soul. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and she has taken this to heart. She does not invent dramas that do not exist, nor does she cling to imaginary futures that others promise but never deliver. This clarity allows her to respond to life instead of reacting blindly to it, and when she does act, her decisions are swift, unburdened by the need for universal approval. Part of her allure lies in how she moves through rejection. While many internalize rejection as a statement of worth, she sees it as alignment, a redirection toward what is meant for her. She does not beg to be chosen because she knows she is already chosen by her own soul. This perspective changes everything. In her world, a closed door is not an insult, but a blessing that keeps her from walking into places where her spirit would wither in relationships. This detachment from desperation shifts the power dynamic completely. When she gives her attention, it is never from a place of fear or scarcity, but from abundance. She has no need to hoard affection or control outcomes. This is why people feel a strange freedom in her presence. They are allowed to be themselves, without the unspoken pressure to perform for her approval. Ironically, this very lack of pressure is what draws them closer. Her irrepressible magnetism also comes from her relationship with solitude. She does not fill every moment with noise or company. She understands that solitude is not the absence of love, but the presence of self. In those quiet spaces, she refines her thoughts, tends to her inner landscape, and recharges the energy she gives to the world. This is why she can give so freely without feeling depleted. She knows how to return to her own well, and when she returns to the world after these moments, she does so with a freshness that people can feel. Conversations feel richer, laughter comes easier, and her insights cut through the clutter like clear water through silt. She is not chasing the next high of attention. She is bringing the stillness she cultivated in her own company. This kind of energy is addictive, not because it is loud, but because it is rare, beneath it all. The unspoken truth is that her irresistibility is a side effect, not a goal. She does not wake up each day asking, "How can I be wanted?" but, "How can I be whole?" That shift in focus changes the texture of her presence entirely. People are drawn not to her for what she offers them, but for the way she stands as living proof that fulfillment comes from within, and that it is possible to move through the world desired, but not defined by desire itself. She understands the subtle but profound difference between influence and control. Influence flows naturally from authenticity. Control is the brittle grasp of insecurity. She has no desire to bend people to her will, for she knows that anything coerced is never truly hers. Instead, she moves in a way that inspires voluntary alignment. Those drawn to her path walk it because they want to, not because they are manipulated into doing so. This is why her connections feel lighter, freer, yet more deeply rooted than most. Her presence carries the gravity of someone who has reconciled her contradictions. She can be fiercely independent, yet delight in being cared for. She can command a room without raising her voice, and surrender to tenderness without losing her edge. Jung might describe this as a woman who has integrated her shadow enough to no longer live in reaction to it. She does not fear being misunderstood because she no longer misunderstands herself. That certainty radiates in her body language, the way she stands, the way her eyes meet yours without strain or agenda. She moves in sync with her values, and that alignment creates a kind of subconscious trust in others. Even those who do not share her worldview feel steadied by it. They may not be able to name it, but they sense that she is the same in private as she is in public. This consistency is rare in a world where many wear masks to survive. It is this very rarity that makes her unforgettable. People remember how she made them feel, anchored, safe, and seen without pretense. She is also unafraid of her own intensity. While many shrink their passions to avoid judgment, she allows herself to feel fully, to love in bold colors, to grieve without apology, to hunger for life without shame. This emotional fluency does not make her unstable, it makes her magnetic. Those who encounter her often find themselves confessing more than they intended, because her openness gives silent permission for theirs. She holds these revelations without judgment, but also without rescuing, a balance that is both rare and powerful. There is a spiritual discipline in the way. She chooses her battles. She does not waste herself on proving the small-minded wrong, nor does she scatter her energy trying to convince the unwilling. Her discernment keeps her from being drained by noise. Like a seasoned warrior, she saves her strength for what truly matters. And when she decides to act, her impact is undeniable. Those who underestimate her quietness often learn that still waters can hide powerful currents. This restraint extends into her relationships as well. She does not demand constant reassurance, nor does she mistake attention for affection. She knows that real love can exist in the spaces between words and in the quiet consistency of actions. She would rather be alone than tethered to someone who needs her to shrink in order for them to feel tall. This unwillingness to compromise her essence is not stubbornness. It is self-respect, the bedrock of her irresistibility. Philosophically, she lives in alignment with the Stoic idea that we cannot control the external world, only our own responses to it. While others spiral in the chaos of changing circumstances, she remains grounded. This steadiness does not mean she is untouched by life's challenges. She feels them deeply, but she does not let them dictate her sense of self. And in a culture addicted to reactivity, her calm is intoxicating. Her irresistibility, then, is not a crafted performance, but a natural consequence of her inner architecture. Every choice she makes reinforces the same truth. She belongs first and foremost to herself. From this place of sovereignty, she can give freely without fear of depletion, love without losing herself, and walk away without bitterness. The world may call her magnetic, mysterious, or enchanting, but to her, she is simply living in truth. She lives with an awareness that time is the most precious currency, and she spends it with the precision of someone who refuses to invest in what will not grow. This does not make her calculating. It makes her deeply intentional. Every yes she gives is backed by the full weight of her presence, and every no is a clean cut, not a lingering wound. People feel this difference. They know that when she chooses to be somewhere, with someone, in some moment, it is because she truly wants to be there. Her boundaries are not rigid walls, but living gates. They can open wide for the right energy, and close firmly against what drains her spirit. This fluidity comes from knowing herself well enough to adapt without betraying her core. She does not cling to rules out of fear, nor does she abandon them to please others. Instead, she reads the situation, the person, the energy, and decides in real time, a dance between intuition and discernment that keeps her life aligned. Her ability to walk away is part of what makes her so compelling. It is not the cold withdrawal of someone playing a game, but the graceful exit of a woman who refuses to stay where her value is questioned. She does not slam doors. She simply steps back into her own space, knowing she loses nothing essential by leaving. This quiet confidence unsettles those who mistake attachment for power. They expect resistance, pleas, or negotiation instead. They are met with her steady absence. In the Jungian sense, she has dismantled the projections that once bound her. She no longer hands her self-worth to others to decide. The archetypal lover in her is balanced by the sovereign, ensuring that passion never eclipses self-governance. She can desire deeply without making that desire a prison. This integration allows her to experience love, friendship, and connection in their purest form, chosen, not clung to. She also understands that not every connection is meant to be lifelong. Some people are chapters, others are entire volumes. She does not rage against endings because she knows that forcing permanence often kills what was once beautiful. Instead, she honors the season, extracts the lesson, and releases the bond without turning it into a battlefield. In doing so, she preserves her own peace and the dignity of what was shared. Her allure is heightened by her relationship with pleasure. She does not chase it mindlessly, nor does she deny herself out of misplaced virtue. She understands that pleasure is a sacred energy. When savored consciously, it nourishes rather than depletes. Whether it's the taste of ripe fruit, the warmth of sunlight on her skin, or the deep exhale after a day well lived, she experiences it fully, without guilt. This sensual presence infuses her interactions with an undercurrent of life force that is both grounding and intoxicating. From the outside, it may look like she is lucky, that life simply bends in her favor, but the truth is more disciplined. She has built her life in alignment with her truth, piece by piece, choice by choice. This is not luck. It is the compounding effect of living authentically over time. She knows the temptation to perform for love or status, but she has learned that the cost of such performance is far greater than any short-lived gain. Ultimately, what makes her irresistible without trying is that she is not in the business of seduction at all. She is in the business of truth, freedom, and self-possession. Attraction is merely the byproduct. the echo of a soul that has made peace with itself. Those who cross her path may try to name it beauty, confidence, mystery, but none of these labels capture it fully. It is something older, rarer, more elemental, the gravity of a woman who has returned to herself and intends to stay there. She does not perform humility in the way society often demands of women. Her humility is not a forced bow of the head, but the unshakable recognition that her worth is neither above nor below anyone else's. This quiet equilibrium keeps her grounded in her power without tipping into arrogance. She can stand in the center of attention without shrinking, and just as easily fade into the background without feeling diminished. Her sense of self is portable. It does not require a stage. People often mistake her self-assurance for luck, beauty, or charisma, but those are only fragments of the truth. What they're really sensing is the psychological safety she carries. She is a woman who will not betray herself to please you, and paradoxically, that makes her far more trustworthy than those who bend in every wind. You may not always hear what you want from her, but you can rely on the fact that what you hear will be real. That constancy is magnetic in a world full of mixed signals and masks. She has an uncanny ability to disarm hostility without submission. This does not mean she tolerates disrespect. She meets it with firm boundaries, but she also understands that anger often hides fear, and arrogance often hides insecurity. By not taking these things personally, she can respond rather than react. This composure is not just emotional intelligence, it is a kind of psychic hygiene, protecting her energy from the chaos of others. People leave her presence calmer than when they arrived, even if they came in bristling. Her path to this steadiness has been neither easy nor straight. There were years when she confused chaos for passion, when she mistook attention for affection, when she tried to earn love by abandoning herself. The turning point came when she realized that every time she betrayed her own boundaries, she was teaching others how to do the same. From that moment, she began to reclaim herself piece by piece, sometimes quietly, sometimes with the force of a woman who has had enough. Now, she moves with the calm of someone who knows she is already enough. She does not advertise her worth. She embodies it. This embodiment shows in the way she listens without the need to dominate, in the way she can compliment another woman without insecurity, in the way she can say no without guilt. It is these subtle, repeated acts of alignment that make her irresistibility feel effortless, because to her, it is not an act at all. She is also deeply attuned to the energy of reciprocity. She gives generously, but only where there is mutual respect. She does not pour endlessly into one-sided connections, nor does she keep score from a place of bitterness. Instead, she treats her energy like an investment. If it grows and nourishes both sides, she continues. If it depletes her, she withdraws without drama. This ability to walk away from imbalance without resentment is part of her quiet power. Her relationship with her body is another layer of her magnetism. She inhabits it fully, without needing it to meet some external ideal. She moves in a way that communicates ease, not self-consciousness, whether she's dancing, walking, or simply sitting still. This comfort in her own skin radiates a subtle sensuality, the kind that doesn't need to be flaunted because it's felt in every gesture. Those around her pick up on it instinctively, even if they can't articulate why they're drawn in. To witness her is to be reminded of what it means to belong to yourself. She is proof that irresistibility is not about being chosen by the many, but about choosing yourself so completely that only the worthy can truly meet you. In this way, She becomes not just a woman people desire, but a mirror reflecting back the places where others have abandoned themselves, and the possibility of returning home. She has learned to wield her words like a scalpel, precise, intentional, and only as sharp as the moment demands. There is no excess, no desperate rush to be understood at all costs. She speaks from a place of clarity, knowing that those meant to understand her will, and those unwilling to listen are not her audience. This refusal to over-explain is not arrogance. It is mastery over the impulse to prove her worth through justification. In the same way, she does not flood conversations with empty promises or exaggerated stories. Her truth is compelling enough without embellishment. In a culture addicted to dramatics, her straightforwardness is both refreshing and disarming. People learn quickly that when she says yes, she means it fully, and when she says no, it is final. This steadiness gives weight to her voice, making even her simplest words carry the gravity of follow-through. She has cultivated a relationship with uncertainty that others often spend their whole lives avoiding. Rather than trying to control every outcome, she allows space for life to surprise her. This surrender is not passive. It is a deliberate trust in her own ability to navigate whatever comes. Jung spoke of individuation as a journey into the unknown parts of oneself. She applies this both inwardly and outwardly, walking into new experiences without letting fear write the script. There is a deep intelligence in her ability to sit with contradiction. She can hold joy and grief in the same breath, love and disappointment in the same relationship, desire and detachment in the same encounter. This capacity unnerves those who prefer the false safety of absolutes, but it is exactly what gives her such dimension. Her depth is not a performance. It is the natural result of having lived through enough to know that nothing is purely one thing or another. Her emotional range is one of her most captivating traits. She feels fully but is not ruled by her feelings. Like a seasoned sailor, she can ride the waves without mistaking them for the ocean itself. This emotional stability, paired with her willingness to feel deeply, creates a paradoxical magnetism. She is safe to be vulnerable with, yet impossible to manipulate through emotion. People come to trust her because she neither weaponizes her feelings nor denies them in love. She does not chase intensity for its own sake. She knows that fireworks burn bright and fade fast, while steady flames warm for a lifetime. Still, she does not settle for lukewarm connections under the guise of stability. She seeks the rare combination of passion and peace, the kind of bond where fire exists within a container strong enough to hold it. And if that bond is not present, she has no fear of walking alone, because solitude in integrity is far sweeter than companionship in self-betrayal. Her magnetism extends beyond romance because it's not rooted in it. Friends, colleagues, strangers, all feel it in her company. She makes people want to rise to meet the standard she sets without ever demanding they do so. This is leadership without force, influence without domination. It is the embodiment of a truth she lives by, that the most powerful way to lead is simply to live in alignment and let others see the peace it brings in the end. Her irresistibility is not a spell, a tactic, or a set of steps to follow. It is the cumulative force of years spent reclaiming herself from every place she once left her worth behind. It is the sovereignty of a woman who has faced her shadows and found them to be not monsters, but misunderstood guardians of her power. And now she moves through the world with the kind of freedom that cannot be given, only taken back. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.